Okay. Well, welcome everybody. This is a great turnout. We are so excited to be here. We were not expecting this. We were kind of expecting to be in the other room. So this is really exciting, and it's really great to have everybody's support here and tell you a little bit about the research study that we've been going on here in Logan for the last year. Actually, the last probably 2 years within all the planning and everything. But for those who aren't very familiar, we're going to do just a quick little background and some high-level findings. In the back are the different posters that we have told your story of your community at different conferences and in Chicago and Atlanta at the Capitol. So take some time if you want to get more into the weeds on some of it. But the study of our study is titled "It Takes a Village," a multidisciplinary project to assess impacts and outcomes of an intergenerational program in a rural Kansas community. So, you guys. So today's presentations, like I said, we're going to share findings, and that's going to be a pretty quick part of it, because what we really want to do is hear from you guys. But how do you think this study's going? What do you guys want to see from the work we're doing, and how can we further support you guys? And just any concerns or anything like that. So kind of be thinking as we're going through this presentation. And then we're going to, like I said, co-create the future. So quick introductions if you haven't met any of us. I'm Trace McQueen. I'm the project coordinator for this study. Also on this team is Heather Bailey in Psych Sciences, Natalie Barlett, also in Psych Sciences at K-State, Lacey Corneliuson at the Center on Aging, Justine Irving, they're all in the back. They're waving, but you can't see them. And then Majette Kalp, I'm in interior design. And then a new part of the team that they weren't here at our first town hall. Where'd they all go? They're all hiding. But we have our undergraduate team. So each faculty member has an undergraduate that's been working hard, getting to know your community. They've been creating a lot of these posters here, doing a lot of good work. So we have Madison Sonova back there, Gracie Tillman, Al, Sue Moore, Michael Glenn, and then Carter Oliver, who couldn't be here today. So that's who we are. And then we also have some of Dr. Barlett's research assistants. They've been taking data on some of the students as well. So if you I'm sure these are probably the only faces you don't know in this room. So yeah. Okay, so before we kind of get into it, we've talked about this more in depth at our first town hall, but it's always a good reminder of some of the protections that went in when first proposing this study. So, we worked with the school board, the Manor board, and the K-State IRB. So that's kind of the ethical board at K-State that approves studies and say, yep, what you guys are doing is okay. It's protecting the different participants. And so we think we are glad that you let us into your community, and we want to make sure that that trust is there. And that it's something that you guys are happy with. So that's how it all that's where making sure you're keeping the residents and the children all safe throughout the research step. So, and then before any child participates or a resident participates in the study, they go through a consent process. So they sign, they say, or their legal power of attorney or their parent or guardian sign and say, yes, you can be enrolled in this study, and yes, you can use our data for research. And further, before each time we interact with anybody, be it through surveys or interviews or anything like that, they first have to give consent saying, yep, I still want to be a part of the study. So, it's all completely voluntary. All right, so before we kind of get into the high-level findings, this is year one of our 3-year research study that we've been developing. So, nothing is conclusive. We still have more work to do, and we're excited about it. So there's just that first quick flag. This is our research timeline. So we are here today reporting back to our community. We submitted this timeline way back. So we are at our preliminary report to the community, and then tomorrow we'll be at the Manor, at the school, invading your guys' space, taking some further data on everything. And that will be our 3rd round of data collection, with the study finishing up in fall 27 with our 6th round of data collection and a final total report to the community saying, all right, here's what we found. All right, so current enrollment in the study, we have 30 residents. So that's a continuous enrollment as residents move out and new residents move in. I thanks to the Manor team for helping us collect those consents and keeping the families informed of what's all going on in this study. There's a lot of moving pieces to it, so you guys have been a great help in getting the residents enrolled, as well as anybody who has family or loved ones that are in the Manor. We sure appreciate your guys' support in allowing us to do our work. And then there's been 39 K through 4th graders enrolled. So again, parents, teachers, thank you for allowing us to work with your students. We've enjoyed working with them. Oh, as well as 12 Manor staff interviewed. So Manor staff has allowed us to do some different interviews to talk with them about what it's like working at the Manor, and as well as what they're noticing with the residents. Okay, so now we're getting into the first parts of the findings. So this is done with our collaborators at the Center on Aging, done through different interviews with the residents. So just open-ended, kind of what we're finding. Then that's later transcribed and then put into themes. And some of the major themes, the 3 major themes that were found, is that residents are reporting a greater sense of purpose, agency, and autonomy. Their intergenerational interactions are increasing social connections amongst the residents and the students. And the new environment creates opportunities for meaningful engagement for these residents. Again, I'm just going to kind of briefly touch on these. I think you'll get a much better input through the posters and through talking with some of us more one-on-one. All right, so findings in terms from Dr. Bailey and myself. This information is being collected through the electronic health records of the residents, so through the MDS, which the Manor staff would be familiar with, but that's basically the summary of the residents' health, everything from eating and the cognitive functioning and the independence of daily living. So what we found, again, I think it's important to ground some of this information is, these are folks living in a nursing home, so we're not really expecting to see a whole lot of improvement, right? They're in there because they need some extra support. So, but we're just scratching the surface on some of what we can find with the residents through the electronic health records, but we really focused in on their cognitive functioning, their mood and behaviors, as well as their independence in activities of daily living. So what we have found so far through our cognitive functioning, that's done through asking different questions, a different type of assessment where they're asking residents to remember so much, and then asking them different, what day of the week is it. But after looking through time point 1 earlier on, just right before the move, and earlier on this year, we found that cognitive functioning remained stable amongst residents, so no decline, which you'd probably expect amongst nursing home residents. Improved mood and emotional well-being, so that's being done through different surveys, so asking residents how they're feeling, are they depressed, stuff like that. But that has improved, and that kind of would make sense, right? We got kids coming in every day, so that's an exciting finding there. And then probably the most significant finding was their greater independence in their activities of daily living. So part of the charting is, how much assistance do residents need when doing these activities of daily living? So brushing their teeth, getting out of bed, walking so many steps. Before the move, they were needing quite a bit more assistance, but as a mean score for everybody, they have improved quite a bit actually. So again, find a little bit more about that back there. And so kind of where that's leading us to, is the supportive environment, we're kind of wrestling with these 2 different questions we got to ask later on. Is it the great new beautiful facility that they're living in, or is it the intergenerational interactions that's happening? We're excited to kind of tease that apart a little bit more. Okay, so we have our collaborator in interior design and planning, Majette. She has developed a standardized, scientifically researched assessment of a space for care homes, and it's assessed on several different measures. But she was able to perform this assessment on the old manor and the new manor. And the findings from that is the new household design supports improved residence and quality of life. That's the big major take home. If you look back there, I enjoyed listening to Vijay because this is very new to me. But all the things you don't normally think about that are included in this new home, what's all included on that assessment. I don't want to talk on all of it because that is definitely her expertise, but measurable differences compared to the traditional nursing homes layout. So you can really see through this assessment, we can really see how this new environment of the Life Center is supporting residents' well-being and these different health outcomes. Okay, and then finally, child development. So Natalie, somewhere. This is Natalie Barlett. Oh, hey, Natalie Barlett found through different survey methods as well as through academic outcome records, found that there are a slight increase in social emotional development, so attitudes towards aging, empathy, and Gracie, relatedness, different measures.
Confidence, autonomy.
There we go. Confidence.
Well-being.
There it is. Yeah. So they're emotional development, and that's showing some improvements. But I think this is probably the big take-home message of the day is, and some of our most exciting findings is a significant increase in standardized reading and math scores.
Hearing,
Eating score. That's embarrassing. So reading and math. All right, let's get back to the exciting. So reading and math scores. So on a national level, Logan students are improving by significantly. Again, we have the numbers back there. Yeah, that's great. Improving significantly on those different measures. And remember that again, that's the kindergarten through 4th grade students. We are not assessing the high school 5th grade at this point. All right. So those are our key high-level findings. Again, you can learn more about it. But one thing, when we first kind of started this study is, what you guys have going on here is really, really cool. And people need to hear about it. So part of our duty we felt was to share the story of Logan. And kind of back here is us crafting that story. What we're thinking is, are the important things to be told. So I hope to kind of gauge everybody. What else can we tell everybody? So quick little, you can read through all these, but I'm just going to go through it really quickly. But we presented at several different conferences. So a couple in Atlanta, folks just got back from Atlanta, from Chicago. We got to speak with legislators in Topeka. They were super interested in what you guys have been doing out here. Further, we've had different showcases and presentations kind of like this. We've got pretty comfortable talking about what all you guys are doing because we do it frequently through the university at smaller local levels and internationally, or not yet internationally, nationally. So with all that, I have a couple prompted questions we'd love to hear from the community about, but I'm getting my notebook out. What we really hope to hear from you guys is what are your first key takeaways, and then further, how can we co-create a future of the study and learn more from one another?
And any questions they have about the outcomes?
Yes, any questions of the outcomes? We've got some hidden slides if you want to see some more.
Trace, will you continue to follow the students after 4th grade? Is there a way to do that?
There's certainly a way to do that, and that's not yet proposed, right? There's so many different avenues we could take some of this research, and we were like, all right, we just need to get our feet underneath of us. But from what I hear from that question is there's an interest in continuing to follow students after the 4th grade. Yeah. Yeah.
What is the measure for the elder's social emotional well-being?
Yes. So that's one of my hidden slides. So it is called the PHQ-9. It's a well-studied. The well-being or the mood.
Both, I guess.
Yeah, so when we say well-being, there's several different different things that we're looking at that kind of make up that larger well-being idea. So like I said, the surveys of their mood and behaviors, the functional ability, and the cognitive functioning. So, but the mood, that's one that's everybody's kind of wondering a little bit about, and that is called the PHQ-9, and it's several different questions. Again, like I said, that we're
I'm going to help you out here.
yes,
Okay.
please do. Thank you. Let me find my
so
slide.
like we asked them in the past 2 weeks, have you felt down, hopeless, or depressed? And then they yes or no. If yes, 1 day or 2 to 6 days, 7 to 11. How about, do you feel like you're sleeping too much or moving slowly that people are noticing? Have you felt like you've had little interest or pleasure in doing things in the past 2 weeks? How many days? And we do this quarterly, or like if they go to the hospital and come back, we re-ask these questions. So at least every 3 months we interview each of them. But honestly, most of our residents only make it through the first 2 questions because they say no, no, and then it doesn't keep adding questions if they say no. So
Yeah. And that's one thing, like I said, we kind of struggle with in the state. So that's why we put the pin in that, it's not significant. We can't find anything from it because there's not a whole lot of variability because a lot of folks, are generally, happy. So what the future of some of that work is looking like is finding some of the other different measures to see, all right, what is a good understanding of this resident's mood. So I know we've kind of been interested in looking at, antidepressant medications, stuff like that. So
We should also note that the only thing we had permission for at the time was looking at right after they moved into the facility and then like about 6 months later. But we recently got permission, and we have to get permission from each of the residents and their families, but to go back to the data from prior to the move.
Yeah.
And I think that's going to be the bigger contrast, is like what was it like in the old facility versus now. So we're finding benefits already from the it wasn't day one, but it was close. It was like month 1 or 2 to the spring. But yeah, so I think, so we were kind of we were impressed that they were showing some benefits already. That was comparing this amazing place to this amazing place.
Yeah.
So we'll see what it was like before. Yeah, good question.
It's okay if this is like an exploratory answer, but you mentioned earlier the 2 big factors of being in a new facility. There's stimulating environments, continuous different, and then also engaging with the students. And you talked about you're excited to tease out those 2 different factors and quantify them a little better.
yeah, and that's so we've got a great assessment on the environment with Maget.
Yeah.
What we've been working out is how can we effectively measure those intergenerational interactions, how often that they're happening. So right now we don't have a great measure of, all right, who's interacting with what resident, how often they're doing it. And so as we can kind of get a better sense of what's the frequency of these interactions, that's kind of how we would tease that out a little bit.
So, and on the environmental side, so
Yes.
the environmental assessment tool that we use actually drills down into specific environmental factors. So there are actual measures of strength of things like support for activities of daily living, that we actually have items that we can specifically compare a score in the old manor and a score for that same space in the new manor. For example, bathrooms. That's a really good example. Your old manor was designed at a different time where the expectation that residents would do things for themselves, it just wasn't how we designed it. And in new designs like the one you have, the bathrooms are designed with supportive features like nicely placed grab bars, better lighting, better contrast between the sink and the floor, so if they have their glasses off, they could actually still see their space. So we can actually take those dimensions of before and after and then run them against some of these metrics that they're looking at in the health records and be able to draw some assumptions and potential correlations between this might be one of the reasons that people can do more for themselves is to design a more supportive environment, and we can specifically point to specific things.
That's awesome. And is that this 130 different
Yes,
Mhm.
130 different items on a 5-point scale. It's probably the most detailed environmental assessment metric that we have out there right now.
Awesome.
Trace, I'm intrigued by the test scores, like intrigued and surprised. What do you expect going forward? Do you expect any kind of pivot work from that, or just collect more data points to get more empowered?
I will pivot to Natalie on that.
You're gonna hand them out?
Yes, I don't want to speak for you on that.
Yeah, no, we're very excited about the test scores. And I was saying, like, we haven't, social emotionally, we didn't see a ton of change yet, but that was spring to fall, with summer in the middle. These test scores are the year like right before. So it was the fall when the residents hadn't moved in yet, and then the spring after they had. And the shift, which you can see on there, the mean change in reading and math on their state assessments was large, which is exciting to see. But again, we then would want to pull apart what might be the contributing factors there to make sure it was potentially some of the intergenerational activities. So I would expect you can still probably plan to see increases. I'm excited to get this academic year so we can check fall to spring again, and potentially check maybe before they were in this building what just average change looked like. But I would expect you're still going to see those improvements from the beginning of school year when they're reintroduced, just got back, until the end where they've had all of their interactions. So I expect you'll still see improvements from fall to spring. Yeah, it's so exciting.
So does this program suggest special activities between the students and the residents?
Not yet. That's what we would like to tease apart next. So right now we were just assessing them in general, kind of as the center was getting established and letting teachers and program directors do as they chose. So we're hoping then the next phase will be to become a little bit more mindful of tracking what activities are done, so then we might be able to say more to, these are the types of activities that really led to some of the different outcomes. So we're hoping that's in our next phase. Yep.
Okay, well, oh yeah.
Will any of this information, would it be analyzed on an economic or a cost basis?
You just yanked my M there. I just had a really interesting conversation because I've just been kind of exploring, other folks at K-State that might have an interest in it. And so I just talked to somebody about that. So that's part of what coming here today. Is that an interest to the community? Because maybe bringing somebody on to look at some of that. Yeah.
Whether it's a cost benefit from, or an economic benefit from the decrease in medications or whatever, what's the economic
I say, is it
scope of it?
Yeah. Well, I say that's something we'd definitely be interested in exploring. Are we interested in looking at the economic benefit from the shared use, or from maybe the recruitment of staff or whatever it might be. That's kind of what we're here for today, is seeing what do you see as potentially an economic benefit that this Life Center has created for your community. We can come with ideas, but we'd love to hear firsthand how you guys are maybe seeing anecdotally some of the economic benefits from the Life Center. Because that's really what good question. Yeah. A follow up with that, is there something that specifically that you might be able to name? We're going to talk about it later too.
Well, no, I think in any project, it always comes down to economics or how do you afford it.
Absolutely.
And so that's what I was just, how do you propagate this plan?
Yeah.
You got to have or do you? Because I see the benefits of of the stuff going on with the kids and the residents,
Yeah.
I fully, you know, I'm wholeheartedly that there. But it, you know, the bottom line is, how do you pay for it, or how does it save you money, or what's the economic side of it?
Yep, yep. Definitely something interesting to explore, and it's in my notebook. Yeah. All right, so I might just ask the general question. You know, these findings that were kind of loosely presented today kind of reflect some of the experiences that you guys are seeing amongst your kids, your family that's in the, you know, that might be over at the manor, just broadly in the community. You know, how does that? Do you agree with any of that, or?
I do have to say on our side, like, we've been there, you know, through the summers when the kids aren't around as much, through the winter breaks, spring break. And you can definitely tell the mood, kind of like they get a little sadder, they get a little, you know, maybe more not as excited to come out and do things. So on our side, I think for sure we've seen a difference in having the kids around, and I do think tracking like the activities and the interactions would be hard because there are so many that there's no way we could ever document. Like every morning they come down and just tell the residents good morning when they're sitting at breakfast. Different staff members have their kids come over after work, and if they are hanging out for 10 minutes to an hour, like they have all these interactions that are not going to be documented too. But yeah, we can for sure tell the difference, and they love it. We have several that go down there. It's just been amazing to watch and see. So it's great to hear some data from it.
The ability for my father-in-law to be able to go into the classroom was the deciding factor for him to stay. He had to come convalesce, and he had been a grandparent in Stockton at the school, and he'd leave his apartment and go every day. When he had gotten ill and wasn't going to be able to go back home, after he stayed here to get better, he kept thinking he could. But what he really wanted to do was get back to going to school, and when he realized he could do that, it made, instead of us making him stay, he wanted to stay.
That's excellent. Thank you for sharing that.
And he actually works in my classroom, which is a fourth grade classroom. And it was so cute because he came down with his walker and he got out a paper, a notebook, and he said, "Now I want to schedule my time in your room. When can I come?" And I'm open at 9:30. But yeah, that's been great. He comes and studies spelling with our kids every week. We have into, I guess I can use a name, but to lots of rooms and reads with kids and interacts. So it's not just the special occasion. We, like she was saying, we go every morning and say good morning. We started recently doing birthday cards, and we'll go whatever pod we have. If they have a birthday, we take our class in and sing to them and have made them cards, and there's all those things too. But it's made a big difference in my kids, and definitely their level of empathy, definitely how they feel about our elder friends, as we call them. So,
What was it you call them?
elder friends, our elder friends, yeah.
That's good.
So yeah, so if they don't come for some reason, you know, we hear about it. So.
And if he can't go, Troy hears about it. I couldn't go to school today, they were at track. Or
we had to reschedule for tomorrow. So. Yeah.
This is only my second time to be here, but I know there's a 24-bed nursing home part of this thing. I am just curious if there's going to be data tracking as to the effectiveness of the total generation situation that would take and delay the need for the 24-bed care, because they could get some assisted living, they could get this or that, you know, the continuum. Is there any kind of data on, plan for data on that type of thing?
Like a swing bed situation, or like temporary stay? No, not needing to stay.
I honestly don't think that would ever be a feasible thing in our community, because there's no payer source that we're able to utilize for assisted living. So, like, I don't see our assisted living ever being, like, have a huge waiting list and people wanting to move in. I think we have 36 beds here in the nursing home. I don't know that in our community in particular it will ever be viable. Because even, like, there's a huge push right now to keep people in their homes and offer care there, but our workforce in this specific area, that's never gonna be really an option either. There's not the workforce to take care of people and keep them at home longer.
And in rural communities, that's a pretty common theme because there's a gap with a payer source between at-home care and assisted living and then nursing home care. That's a gap currently, nationally, really.
I just know the research shows that the communities that have the full continuum, typically you can delay nursing home care about 6 years. Well, 6 years of delaying nursing home care at the cost of nursing home care, that's a pretty big economic development benefit to the community and to those families that your community is serving. So I was just curious if.
Yeah, and not quite in the scope of our work yet, but that's I love the thought.
I think that's a really good point, and it kind of goes to that larger issue of solving the infrastructure challenges, and that also costs money to the community to develop those between those gaps too. And so it's kind of a cost-benefit analysis in a community like this in terms of that continuum in between costs money too. So here, that may not be feasible, and the nursing home may be the solution here, where in other communities there's other solutions. So it's really looking at the uniqueness of what's here and what the resources are. Yeah.
Chase, I would not give up on to the gentleman who was talking about the economic benefit.
Yeah.
You know, I think you are on the baseline of some really good data about quality of life, to eventually be able to go back to Medicare or whoever and re-look at payment because your outcomes are so good.
Yeah.
I would not take that off of the table.
No, absolutely not. It's an exciting avenue, and there's, also just assigning value to what having these kids come in actually means. Beyond the obvious grabs of, okay, now same electric bill, or I don't know, whatever it might be from the shared resources, but yeah, the assigned value to the intergenerational medicine, or whatever you might want to call it. It's something that's definitely interesting for us to look at.
Well, I can echo a little bit like what Mrs. J was talking about with the student-resident relationship. We have a 4th grade daughter, and so there was a special bond definitely there with, they were mailing letters to Tom through the mail, and that's kind of a fun experience. They would write letters and mail that back and forth. She gets upset if the bus is running late because there's a day where we got to make it up here for high fives or talk to residents. If the bus is running late, we're going to be in trouble to get breakfast and up to say hi. So I know there is a positive, interaction there so far from what we're seeing from home anyway.
Oh, absolutely. Who knows what 20 years is going to look like from now, but I think these kids are going to be senators, presidents. They'll be the most well-adjusted kid. But I can't support that with research or science or anything. But yeah.
I might share a story of I don't know what age she'd be. I think 4th or 5th, and a resident passed away, and we're the Catholic Church, and we have altar servers, and so they usually ask our high school or older junior high to be altar servers. And when her brother was asked, and when she heard that, she said, "No, wait, he's my friend." She said, "I need to be the altar server." And I think she was 3rd grade or 4th grade. I'm trying to think what she was, but I thought that was such. I mean, she had to be there for him. So, and then I think with the people at the ball games and things, that's just become a normalcy here. And I'm thinking the other communities might be noticing that and seeing that this is we are a community. We encompass everybody here, and A lot of times, our elders were kind of off to a side or down in the building and the curtains drawn or whatever, and they're just part of everything. So that's really nice. They do a good job of getting them out to everything. So.
That's so good.
I think it's really neat that you have older people listening to the kids read. Because according to research, if a kid reads aloud to another person for at least 30 minutes a day, by the time they get to 3rd grade, you've reduced the need for remedial services by over 21%. That means 21% less of the kids are at, have any, they're at, that means they're not below grade level. And that's a pretty big thing, because if you let it get past 3rd grade, it's very hard to catch them up after that. And you spend so much more on resources to try to catch them up. So I just commend you guys of having these elderly people listening to kids read.
This isn't us. We are just strictly, I give it all the credit to the teachers and everything like that. So, yes, I say this, what you guys have created here in the community, that is just, yeah, I agree with you. Commending these teachers and all that stuff. Yeah. I kind of might want to end it here. I think, the work that we are able to do with your community is best when we get your guys' input and can work alongside one another. And just kind of like to pose the room is, how would you like to stay involved in the work? And we got cards here, so we can answer this question later. But if there's anything on how you see yourself fitting into it all, we're always excited to explore.
One of the other things I might say is this study and being a part of your community has put us in a unique situation where we're also telling your story because people are asking about the story. And so we want to do that well and accurately and connect people to you in case they want to pursue something like this. And so that's another step, I think, for the next year is telling your story well, getting that information out and connecting people. So I think that's something that we want to build together too.
That was one of the things that I had wondered. That you said that you've been giving presentations, and I just have to imagine people hear about like a 432, is that what it said? 432 people in a town, and we've got something like this, which is a source of pride for us, but also just seeing the impact. I mean, you have it on your slides, the things that have been seen, the improvements, but I am curious about the people that come up to you with questions like 400 people town.
We do get that. It's very exciting to them that's happening in a community like this. Yeah.
I think a lot of people become interested, like how can other towns be doing this? If somebody a town this size,
right?
So that's generated a lot. You guys are. This is very much a trailblazing community in Kansas because you guys are way ahead of the curve, and there are a lot of communities that are on your tails, I think, and are going to be looking to you guys for like, how did this start? What's worked? What would you do differently? And that sort of. So that kind of feeds into it.
And I think the other piece is this community has some unique resources that are different than other communities. So how can we take this that may not be directly replicable in their community, but take the parts of it that work well here, that are generating some of the positive outcomes, and customize it to those communities with what they have in their community. And so I think that's something we are really interested in too.
Mm-hmm. I think one thing too is when talking to other folks about, your community, is they see in what you've done, they see themselves like, oh yeah, I had this elder friend when I was a kid, and then they get really emotional. And so it's kind of a universal universally loved idea that they're like, God, we want that. So that's no matter where we're going, talking about Logan, that always seems to come up. Yeah. Great. Well, we're going to stick around for a while. We got lots of good donuts and coffee, and please spend some time, looking at the numbers a little better. Quiz our undergrads. They did a great job putting a lot of these posters
Take
together.
some of the freebies.
Yes. So, and sit around, visit with us. We're happy to learn more from you.
Thank you.